Hey everyone, Diavolo here, and in today's video, we are jumping into a new series that, believe it or not, up until 2 months ago, I hadn't even watched, let alone read. But after smashing out the series, I actually don't know what the hell I was smoking, because holy, it was some pure, old school gas. So yes, finally, we are diving into Bleach and the literally insane Thousand-Year Blood War. Like, oh my lord, this whole arc is just pure insanity with fight after fight after fight after fight, to the point where you actually wonder how it could ever possibly end. The constant breakdown and fodderization of characters I looked at as immortal and just purely untouchable is freaking mental. So here today, I plan to make my way through all of the greatest fights and just pure beatdowns throughout the 250 plus chapter arc. But just before we do get into the video, if you are new around here and want to watch more stuff just like this, but for a multitude of different series, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with pushing my content to a bunch of new amazing weebs. But anyway, enough of that, let's finally get into the first major battle that takes place throughout the early stages of the Thousand-Year Blood War. So initially, after Ichigo's first battle up against that dude who legit just showed up inside of his room looking like he wanted to lay someone out on the bed, a random set of events happen that result in Nell and Pesce falling from the sky in the human world and informing our boy that Hueco Mundo has been defeated. Honestly, I'm just so confused how they even made it into the real world from Hueco Mundo, so feel free to let me know down in the description below, because I'm still currently reading my way through the Thousand-Year Blood War, so I don't have a complete understanding on how everything works yet. And of course, reading Bleach for the first time and understanding these names is probably the hardest thing I've had to do for a little while here. Going from Japanese to Spanish to German names is blowing my mind at some points. But anyway, after conversating with them and getting a rundown of the events with Harry Bell and how she was defeated, Big Urahara appears on the windowsill looking absolutely chill, asking if he'd like to organize a little outing to Hueco Mundo for the group. So, well, hopefully that brings everyone up to date with what happens in between the two fights with Ichigo and stuff. There is some other stuff that goes down in the Soul Society and everything, but if you guys want me to go over, say, the fall of SIIICK, then make sure you let me know in the comment section below, and I'll go over the entire destruction of the Soul Society in one video alone. Anyway, after organizing this little outing, everyone, which includes the real-life Chad, Pesce, remember that Ranka from way back during, episode 200 and something? Everyone's favorite age regressor Nell, Inoue, Urahara, and of course, our substitute spiky-haired Soul Reaper, Ichigo, fall into Hueco Mundo and take cover behind some rubble to avoid being noticed. One of the Wandenreich look in their direction, thinking he heard something, but another tells him that it's frankly impossible, as everyone around those parts have been killed or are with them now. As Ichigo and the others briefly discussed how they were not noticed, Urahara knows that their being unnoticed must be because they know there are no living hollows or Ranka remaining in the area. As they look around the surroundings, noting the brutality of the situation, Pesce tells them how all the hollows and Ranka were unable to stand up to the Wandenreich's previously unseen powers. They were left with no leader and no means of a way to fight back. The only possible choice they had was to frantically run for their lives. After Ichigo asks the hollow-fied Barney where the remaining members of the group would be taken, Pesce tells him that they will be taken to a camp. Which, oh my lord, the whole Nazi vibe from this Wanden Boys group, any mention of a camp is just reason for an investigation in frickin' my eyes. Anyways, he explains that at the camp, they will be divided into groups, a process which decides who will be killed and who will be forced into serving the Quincy's, prompting Ichigo to not even let him finish explaining and go and rescue them. As Pesce expresses surprise at Ichigo's abrupt decision to save all of the other trapped Ranka on their way to Dondochaka, the others who are following him note Ichigo's wish to save even his former enemies is exactly something that he would do. Nearby, and chilling like he absolutely owns the place, the General Hunt Commander, Quilge Opie, commands his subordinates to line up the survivors to figure out whether they deserve to be taken back to the Emperor. After explaining the sadistic intentions of how he is literally going to stab each of them to death, a random Ranka steps up and tries to reason with him, but Opie doesn't even listen as he simply stabs him in the gut with his spear, killing him. He then starts off killing several more Ranka as an example to the others that this is how their lives will end, until two hooded figures who turn out to be Lolly and Melanie, two of Aizen's old simps, launch a surprise attack on him. After disarming his spear, they then try to go on a spiel about how they won't be defeated by a simple minion like him, only to then be taken off guard as he easily subdues both of them by shooting Melanie in the chest and backhanding Lolly onto the sandy ground below. Walking away, Quilge tells his men to not kill the girls, as their leader is looking for any courageous fools. Even still, he just walks away, underwhelmed with the entire situation. Suddenly though, a few of his men are instantly killed as a large, spinning projectile is sent hurling towards him. Turning in time though, the Sternritter easily manages to block the object and stop it in its tracks. Asking who's there, the banging and beautiful chicks from the Tres Bestias make their appearance atop a pile of rubble. Not gonna lie, it's just too dope to see all these old characters who I honestly thought died throughout the Karakura Town conflict come back and re-implement themselves into the story in a different way now, almost with a complete role reversal from how things were. Like last time we saw them, they were the aggressors trying to take over an area, and this time they're literally fighting for their home and survival. I absolutely love the parallel between the two. As the three Arrancar take on the first Yagdamir, Ichigo notices the large explosions in front of him. From on his shoulder like a pet and utterly taking him by surprise, now reveals that it's a Ryatsu of the Tres Bestias, or three breaths up in front of them. She says that they are super strong and should be able to destroy the enemy force before they even arrive. Over in the battle, the three babes easily manage to kill a bunch of Quilge's fodder subordinates before taking on the captain himself. Facing them, Quilge offers them one piece of advice and advises the girls they surrender immediately. If they do this, they will be able to become allies and reunite with their beloved Harry Bell. Pissed at the thought of being taken lightly by their adversary, the girls erupt with anger and reinitiate the fight with a disappointed Quilge. Close by, as Ichigo sees another massive explosion, Nell tells him that there would be no point in interrupting their beatdown. However, as they arrive, Ichigo is instantly stunned to see all three Arrancar have been defeated by a single person. Noticing Ichigo's arrival, Quilge cheekily states that the Shinigami has arrived, and they certainly have a lot of visitors today. Still holding onto Ichigo's shoulder, Nell is shocked to see that the three breaths were defeated. Standing opposite them, Quilge comments on how rare it is to see a Shinigami with an Arrancar on their shoulder. However, he tells Ichigo he knows exactly who he is. I don't know how it's possible, but somehow Ichigo has a big brain IQ, and after recalling his previous encounter with Eburn in the human world, Ichigo states that it wouldn't be much of a surprise for them to know all about him. Quilge explains to him that Ichigo's details were included in the information passed down directly to everyone via their master. It stated that he is a notable threat to be eliminated with the highest priority due to being considered a special war potential. Not really concerned with this dude's monologue though, Ichigo jumps down to confront him, when all of a sudden Quilge and his men surround him with a high-speed movement that isn't Shinpo or Sonido either. Initially confused on how they move so quick, Ichigo recognizes their movement as the Hirankyaku, as he's seen Ishida using it in the past before. Quilge's three associates who have surrounded our spiky-head Ranger then fire at him with their bows, but as he charges out of the smoke-covered area completely unarmed, he asks if they are really Quincy's. Asking if Ichigo really charged into battle without a proper understanding of who he was going up against, Quilge notes that Ichigo must have suspected it, but wasn't exactly able to confirm it due to his lack of evidence. Drawing his spirit weapon, which is this clean ass looking saber by the way, Quilge tells Ichigo that he will give him his answer. He is indeed correct, as they are the very same Quincy he knows so well. Which is like, yo, what do you mean by that, dude? As you know, as I've said, I'm still reading my way through this arc here, so there are times where I'm honestly just as confused as all of you, and damn eager to find out what they could possibly mean with these cheeky lines here and there. Anyways, skipping away momentarily over to the actual powerhouse of the series, the master himself, Big Yawok, which I'm not even sure if I said correctly, is informed that the notable threat, Ichigo Kurasaki, has infiltrated Hueco Mundo, and is now engaged in a battle against the General Commander, Quilge Opie. Pleased with the turn of events, Yawok begins to leave. Confused though, as the subordinates look on, they ask where he is going, to which he states it should be obvious, as he is now heading to the Soul Society. He doesn't know why Ichigo is here, but states that this is the perfect time to go and bring the Soul Society to its knees. Commanding his men to send word of this change to the Sternritter, Yawok states that the Vondenreich invasion of the Soul Society begins immediately. Back in the battle now, and firing a burst of arrows from his saber at Ichigo, Quilge states that they all have their mark, then asks what happened to Ichigo, as he shouldn't be finished already. Randomly, Ichigo's Zanpakuto toe falls through the smoke and stabs into the ground below, perplexing a slightly confused Quilge before he hears Ichigo call out. As the smoke from Quilge's attack clears, Ichigo, looking like an absolute baller with the arrows fired at him now being held in his hand, states that it is odd because his boy Uryu told him that the Quincy's only ever use bows. Catching Quilge off guard, Ichigo shoots down and returns the arrows right back at his opponent, causing a mass of smoke and sand to be kicked up by the beam. He then returns to the ground and grabs the Zanpakuto. Then noticing Orihime and Chad finally catching up, he literally just biffs now towards the duo, telling them to take care of her for now. Noticing several more arrows beaming towards him, he counters them by quickly firing off a Getsuga Tensho, which absorbs the arrows and continues on its way towards the Quincy. As the attack clears, Quilge, trying to pull off that evil villain type reappearance, emerges completely unharmed. He states that he feels ashamed at the inadequacy of his own lack of skills, given how Ichigo easily dodged, repelled, and even threw back a Heelig fell with his bare hands. Asking if Quincy arrows all have weird names like that one, Ichigo then goes on to say that his arrows were more powerful than Ishida's though. Slightly bemused by Ichigo's mentioning of Uryu, Quilge asks Ichigo if he is referring to Uryu Ishida, which is like, yo, is Uryu gonna pop off later on in the arc, or is there something sneaky with him going on behind the scenes? Anyway, realizing that they know Uryu, Ichigo asks him who the hell they even are. Quilge says that it's strange that Ichigo thinks that Uryu's Heelig Fell is weaker than his, as that possibly cannot be true. When Ichigo questions what this could possibly mean, Quilge, realizing that he is overspoken, says speech is silver and silence is golden. Then sheathing his saber, he notes that he has much more info to report back on to his majesty, causing Ichigo to ask who this mysterious person could be. But Quilge says answering that question would be utterly pointless, as now he has just received orders from that mysterious leader to defeat Ichigo here and now with all of his strength. Raising his hand near his face, Quilge tells Ichigo to please watch, for he must have at least heard of the power he is about to use. The Quincy Let Still. Taking off his right glove like it's some form of Russian doll, revealing another one below it, he then activates the technique, causing a massive beam of ethereal blue light to extend, shooting up into the air. Suddenly, it shatters, with Quilge emerging below, revealing his new mystical looking form that's seemingly made up of reishi. Standing above Ichigo, he states that the proper name of the form he is currently using is known as the Quincy VOLSTANGDIG, which for all my poor English people, however like myself, who aren't the center of attention with their own language and are utterly confused with like what's going on with some of these German names here, pretty much the Let Still kind of like stands for last style, and this Quincy VOLSTANGDIG literally means Quincy complete, so like the final or complete form. So I hope that solves some confusion at least. Anyways, from a distance and looking at Quilge, Orihime finds it odd that she cannot sense any reishi shockwaves or Ryatsu from the Quincy. As he approaches Ichigo, Quilge asks him if he can feel his pulsating power, which is like, chill bro, what the fuck is pulsating? Quickly moving behind Ichigo and then catching him off guard, Quilge says it's the power of the one who will punish him. Remembering a conversation he had with Kisuke Urahara, who told him about the Quincy Let Still, Ichigo wonders if Quilge is using this power now. As he presses the Shinigami, he notices Ichigo's confusion over whether or not he's using Let Still. Because of this, he explains to him that they are not the same. Let Still is a relic of the past which died out over 200 years ago because of its inherent weakness. The only one still foolish enough to use it was Ishida, as he refuses to go along with the progress and achievements his race have made. Quilge then strikes at Ichigo, swinging his blade down. However, Ichigo easily manages to block the attack with his Zanpakuto and tells Quilge that he doesn't care about their history, but is relieved that Ishida hasn't transformed into a creepy form like his own. Taunting him, Ichigo tells Quilge that his blade's edge is weakening before firing a massive Getsuga Tensho directly at him. As the attack flies forth, Ichigo realizes that Quilge wasn't even phased, as he managed to instantly appear before him, asking if he has ever considered the concept of aiming his attacks, which is pretty fucking brutal. Cursing, Ichigo pulls back as Quilge, who's still taunting him, says aiming wouldn't even help, for he has no weaknesses at all. Asking if Ichigo called him creepy just before, Quilge raises his right arm and declares his reaction as the proper one for a barbaric Shinigami, as to face the ultimate enforcers of all that is holy and righteous must be an abhorrent and terrifying sight. Pointing his saber into the sky, Quilge then begins to suck up a large amount of reishi from the surrounding environment. Standing nearby and completely helpless to the situation, Orihime watches in disbelief as her ability is absorbed. However, Chad corrects her observation as he notices that everything made up of reishi is being absorbed directly into the Quincy, which in turn also answers Orihime's question on why she wasn't able to sense any reishi shockwaves earlier, for Quincy's absorb reishi instead of emitting it. Having gathered sufficient reishi for his technique, Quilge raises his right arm and tells Ichigo to prepare to feel the power of his VOLSTANGDIG, the skill. which I'm not even sure if I said right, as the B sounds like a V. By the way, in the English translation, it's called the Justice of God. So it's super interesting to see this new lot try and take on more of a godly stance than say the Shinigami, who are literally like the death gods in this universe. Anyways, before he could use this technique though, the absorbed reishi is completely shattered in the palm of his hand, and he is sent shooting into a pile of rubble by someone who I literally thought I would never see again. Behind him, and still looking just as jacked as he was before Yamamoto sacked his ass during the last battle, AYON makes his reappearance. Having actually sustained some damage now, Quilge wonders what the actual fuck AYON even is. Nearby, and still recovering from almost dying, the Tres Bestias scream out, repeating their earlier warning to not underestimate them and ordering AYON to attack and kill that pompous four-eyed monkey. AYON momentarily turns to his creators, prompting the confused girls to ask what he's even looking at, and Sang-san to wonder if he's actually worried about them. Seeing this, Apache, like the forward-going one she is, tells AYON not to worry about them and instead to defeat their enemy. With this, AYON lets out a freaking loud-ass roar and bursts into rage. This causes Ichigo and the others to wonder what the hell AYON even is, as obviously they never witnessed the last time he was summoned. Apache explains to them that AYON is a monster created from their left arms, and since they aren't enemies this time, she warns the other group to not get in their way if they don't want to be killed, as AYON can't even determine friend from foe. Back in the battle, as the mindless beast rushes towards Quilge, who takes up a battle stance and simply denies the fact that a monster like him could ever possibly defeat his VOLSTANGDIG. Yet, as per usual, AYON is just something else and easily lands a right punch in Quilge's face, sending him shooting up into the sky. AYON doesn't give up though, and chases his opponent down instantly, tearing off his wings and smashing him into the ground over and over and over again, seemingly killing the helpless Quincy. AYON then concludes his rampage by slamming Quilge back into the ground, leaving half of his corpse already buried beneath the sands of Hueco Mundo. Happy with their pet's work, Apache decides to come up for a closer look and almost rubs in the fact that the silly old Quincy underestimated them. She expresses how impressed she is with Quilge's durability, considering he is still in one piece after being smashed out by AYON. However, our armless Arrancar is taken by surprise as all of a sudden she's stabbed through the chest by Quilge's saber. As he slowly stands back up, pulling his broken ass body out of the sand, he mentions that they were given no info on AYON in their reports. Snapping his neck back into place, he states he will need to send word to His Majesty that the blood should be strengthened. Which I think is some sort of blood infusement that he's getting from the big man himself, but I ain't really too sure yet. I would love to know like your thoughts on the abilities of Quincy's in general and your favorite fights from throughout like this massive arc that you want me to cover in the coming future. Anyways, Quilge then notes that before he does report back, he will have to hurry with the defeats and begins activating a new technique. Standing there, he tells the monster that he will be the first to die, but corrects himself and says that no, he will actually be the first to live. Seeing the danger of Quilge's technique, Mila Rose warns AYON not to attack, but the warning comes too late as the brainless monster charges at the Quincy once again. Standing there helpless, the girls are shocked to see AYON's body slowly begin to break down and be absorbed into Quilge. Slowly walking towards them, he reveals the ability's name as Sklaveri, which is literally German for slavery and Japanese for holy slave, and explains the ability as a Quincy's basic ability to gather reishi in the highest degree, allowing the user to enslave it to their will. He admits that he didn't want to use it as it makes his holy form become tainted with evil from such wicked beasts. Seeing this, Mila Rose and Sang-san decide to retreat with Apache to Orihime underneath the dome of Sang-san's Muda, but Quilge, who notices that they were able to hide themselves, finds and absorbs the dome before continuing to literally rip the freaking reishi off his opponent's bodies, as if this dude is like literally tearing their skin off. As the steroided up maniac tells those below him to hurry up and die, he is surprisingly interrupted by Ichigo, who having just activated his Bankai, attacks him and proclaims that he can stop this new ability of his. All he has to do now is destroy the halo floating above the Quincy's head. Instantly taking the offensive, Ichigo begins to pressure Quilge, who attempts to try and seal Ichigo's Bankai using his special medallion. Finding the medallion does absolutely nothing though, Quilge curses as he takes a direct hit from Ichigo's Bankai. Moving back in an attempt to get away, Quilge recalls how he did receive data on how they could not metalize his Bankai, but nothing else, and that was the only issue. He wonders how he has been so easily overpowered, despite using his ultimate ability and absorbing AYON. Ichigo then appears in front of him again and slashes him, sending the bulked up Quincy shooting into the ground below. Instantly getting back up from the hit though, and exiting the dust clouds, Quilge Quilge then prepares to fire a barrage of arrows towards the Shinigami, but as he does so, Ichigo easily repels them all with a Getsuga Tensho. Then commenting on how the last dude he fought tried yoinking his Bankai as well, he asks why it is that they are all so set on trying to seal away Bankais. Not seeing any reason as to why he should answer this question though, Quilge notes to himself that Ichigo's power is dangerous, but his speed is the main concern. Thinking about his situation, he contemplates on how exactly he is supposed to defeat this man. In order to react to Ichigo's high speed, he must keep his Blood Vene at full power, but while he's doing this, he's unable to use his blue art Eri, so he literally cannot defeat Ichigo, as attacking without his blue art is useless against one who is using Bankai. As he considers calling for backup, his thoughts are instantly interrupted by Ichigo, who asks if they are instead afraid of their Bankai, and that's why they are trying to seal them. Riled up by this, Quilge stands back up and is about to get halfway through declaring that the Vondenreich fear nothing, but is absolutely blindsided as he is shot clean through the chest by Urahara, who is standing nearby on a pile of rubble. After thanking Ichigo for giving him the sneaky opportunity to land an easy final blow, he tosses Ichigo one of them clapped-ass Soul Reaper flip phones and explains to him that the situation is already extremely urgent, so he must hurry to the Soul Society immediately. He then proceeds to open a Garganta directly behind him and explains that AYON will explain the details to him while he travels towards the Soul Society. Ichigo rushes through the Garganta as Akon informs him of the severity of the situation, the casualties, and the uncertainty of the whole conflict going down inside of the Soul Society. Akon tells Ichigo about the Vondenreich being able to steal Bankai because captains from the 2nd, 6th, 7th, and 10th have all had their Bankai stolen. Jumping into the conversation, Urahara, who's like hacked in on his computer thing, says that he can give them a bit more info on the surrounding enemies' abilities. He explains that these Quincy seem to possess 3 main abilities that they should be aware of. The first, which is Quincy VOLSTANGDIG, or the Quincy complete form, produces the most obvious and striking change to their fighting capabilities. The second is an ability the Quincy refer to as Blut. He says this seems to involve manipulating the flow of these spirit particles through their blood to boost both the defensive and offensive powers. However, this ability does have one major flaw, as it is impossible to activate both the defensive and offensive capabilities at the same time, so they need to use this to their advantage in future battles. Finally, their third ability, one that seems to grant Quincy's the ability to steal or appropriate Bankais. Having gained the recently defeated Quilge's medallion, Urahara says that he intends to figure out how this ability works, but what's currently most important is that they are unable to steal Ichigo's Bankai, and his alone. Nearing the end of his journey, Ichigo suddenly sees a blue beam of energy shoot past him that reaches the exit first and stitches it closed, which causes him to ask Urahara what the hell just happened. Back in Hueco Mondo, Urahara, Orihime, and Chad all find themselves taken by surprise as they are hit multiple times by Quilge's arrows. Like, the arrows that literally rip parts of their bodies off, it's mental. The Quincy, who's managed to somehow stand back up after using another new ability called Ranso Tengai, fires off another shot through the Garganta directly at Ichigo. Noting the attack, Ichigo turns in time and blocks it, but is somehow quickly immobilized and imprisoned as the ability seems to turn into a cage around him. Screaming and laughing like an actual freaking psycho, Quilge says that he was so close to being able to make it back and fight, but now he will have to wait helplessly in his dark cage and watch as the Soul Society is destroyed. Stuck inside of his cage, Ichigo makes cut after cut in an attempt to escape, but it's all to no use. Hearing Akon try to communicate with him through the phone, he tries to respond, but no one is able to hear him at all. As he sits there, trying to take all the information in, he notices that he cannot hear anything but screams and explosions through the device now. After a second later, he realizes that he started to hear more than just the people inside of the Research Institute. Now, it's literally the pleas from everyone around the Soul Society in their own individual battles. Hearing that people believe that Ichigo will come to save them, he tries over and over and over again to break out of his prison, but finds all of his attempts utterly futile. Back with Quilge, he notes how hard Ichigo is trying to break out, but says that it's utterly pointless. Screaming out, he states that the letter he was granted by His Majesty was J, and he refers to himself as Quilge Opie, the jail, and no one will ever escape the prison he weaves. Turning towards Chad and Orihime, the slowly deflating Quincy states that he better eliminate the rest of them before the power he absorbed fully leaves him. However, before he can do so, the dude is utterly disrespected and shattered all over as he is cut in half and killed by a completely unknown, but oh my lord, this guy must be a freaking insanely powerful individual. Like, even Kisuke is like, holy shit. Not this dude.
But anyway, guys, I'm still extremely sick and like am completely unable to get on cam at the moment because I look completely and utterly terrible. But enough of that. I want to know what you guys thought about this fight here specifically, and what fights you think I should go over like in anticipation for the fights being released in the manga in the up and coming months. But anyway, enough of that. If you guys have enjoyed this video and want to check out more stuff and get earlier access to videos before they do release, then be sure to check out my Patreon, which I will leave a link to down in the description. But you know, as per usual, if you guys are new around here and want to keep up to date with the latest like manga and anime explain type content, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with pushing my stuff to a bunch of new amazing people. But anyway, enough of that. For now, it's been your professional degenerate Diavolo, and I will see you all in a bit. Bye.